Oh my God, I did it. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show, an hour-long podcast dedicated to Mexican soccer. Um, yes, it is me, Amy. Whoa. To another edition of the Mexican It's going great so far.
Is that you?
It's going great so far. I am Amy Lopez. I am not Wiso Vasquez. Apparently, he felt a little upset at me because I texted him while I was gone last week, and he's like, "If you think you can do this, then you do it." So,
So we did.
He didn't say that. I'm really just kidding.
So we did.
No, but yeah, Cesar and Wiso are busy tonight, so. Adrian,
they're not committed, Amy. They're not committed, are they?
You know what? It's fine. We can, as a producer, I'll go ahead and take care of it later. It's fine. No, but yeah, they were a little busy tonight, so they asked if I could help out with this, and Tom and Adriana also thought it was a cool idea. So I'm not like nervous, or I'm just like, it's kind of surreal for me right now because I remember like 3 years ago I was barely being introduced, and now I'm hosting, and this is either going to go very, very well or very terrible. So we'll see.
Either way, it'll be entertaining.
Either way, you'll have a show of it, guys. I'm just saying, it'll be fun. But as always, we start with the big question of the night, which tonight is most memorable moment of the weekend. So was it the possum on the field, the 4 red cards in the Monterrey versus America game, or Oscar Pareja being sent off, or another one?
How is that even competing? Oscar Pareja compete in this category against the possum?
So we'll start with
what's the dog?
Both of them are Mexican. So let's go ahead and start with Adriana, who is super dedicated because she drove at like 80 miles an hour to get on the show. Adriana, how are you?
I am so rooting for the possum. I mean, we've had beehives at the Estadio Azteca at the goalposts. We've had dogs. We have cats. I'm trying to think if we've had some sort of bird or something. We probably have, but no one has ever seen a possum. I'm pretty sure people are actually asking, what the hell was that on the field? And I'm so happy that Bayern Munich's Twitter account actually asked if they could like hire the possum to their team. So nothing beats the possum. Not even the America Monterrey match, which was totally crazy. But yeah, go possum.
Go possum from Adriana. Tom, what do you think? What was the highlight of the weekend?
Yeah, I think it'd have to be the possum. No, it was quite funny. Like I wrote a story today on ESPN or last night, and I put like, the new series of Club de Cuervos started, I think on Friday, if I'm not mistaken. And it was like, it's almost like all the events in Mexican football this weekend conspired to kind of blur that kind of border between reality and fiction. Because if you look at some of the stories that went down this weekend, I mean, you had the possum entering the pitch. I mean, making international headlines. Bayern Munich account, like Adriana was saying, was tweeting about it. You had some of the most bizarre refereeing I've seen in a long time in that America Monterrey game. You had Joel Campbell, the Costa Rican striker, his signing being announced during a Mijares concert. You had Caixinha just lose it and say "Me vale M." The press, like, I completely don't give about you all. You had Toluca fans graffiti the Tigres bus with what was it again? You kind of you're a fashion team basically. You had what else? I mean, there was just a list of things that were. You had the poor Portuguese Canadian midfielder who, comes on, gets a red card after 1 minute, then VAR overturns it, and then 20 minutes later he does his ACL in. I mean, 20 minutes in his debut. I mean, I don't know. There was just so many things that went on, and I was just thinking, oh man, I'm glad Diego Lainez is over there in Real Betis, doing his thing. That was what I thought. I don't know. I missed some things out there. I can't remember the others, but.
So you're saying possum then, Tom? You're also going with the possum?
Yeah, to sum it up, possum.
Sum it up. I didn't get to see the possum actually happen, so I'm going to go ahead and say the one that I actually saw, which was the 4 red cards versus Monterrey versus America. I just want to be different, but I also thought the possum was really, really cool. to to occur.
There were people tweeting out that the possum was more entertaining than the 22 players on the field. And then, as Tom said, I think it was Puebla's Twitter account that got into a discussion, I think, with Club de Cuervo's Twitter account, and said something like, yeah, the game is we have more talented players than all the actors in your show, or something like that. It just became a thing on Friday. I mean, and then I think it was, I don't know if it was Veracruz's Twitter account or someone from I don't know, like whoever picked up the possum and actually had it sent over, and they had an X-ray to see if it was okay, and it had a cut in his hand. I mean, people just took this to an entire different level. I mean, this is Liga MX reinventing itself.
Oh dear.
Well, the possum was the highlight of the weekend. Does that say anything about the playing that happened this weekend? I don't know. Maybe a little bit.
It just says we aren't surprised by everything else that happened, which was still crazy in itself. But yeah, the possum was just different, so that's why.
Possum at number 1. All right, guys, we have a really great show for you tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about the Liga MX stuff, non-possum related stuff, a little bit later on to the show. We're going to start with some Mexicans abroad, go into Liga MX, and talk about the Liga MX Femenil if we have some time. That's currently taking place right now, a really exciting game. But just to jump in, Mexicans abroad, Diego Lainez has his first official start this past weekend against Atletico Bilbao. And guys, can we say that, that the hype is justified at this point, or do we still relax? I feel still a little bit relaxed, but I don't know at what point.
Adriana's been the queen of dumbing down the hype and keeping it all under wraps. I don't know, Adriana, what do you think? Are you excited yet, or are you telling everyone to shut up?
It's getting to me. It's just I've been surrounded by so much euphoria that well, I was kind of psyched to see him start, but then I started comparing the lineups for the past 2 games, and it seems as Setien had made at least 5 changes, both in the cup game and in the last league game. So it seems more like a consequence of all those changes rather than maybe thinking that he's ready to start up. I mean, he did a really good job. He spent half of the time on the floor, though. I think physically he does need to get into shape and start being able to fight against all these other players that are stronger, they're taller than him. But despite that, I do think he did a quite decent job being in the starting lineup for Real Betis. I do think he still needs a little bit more time. But yeah, I thought it was kind of odd seeing that at least 5 changes were made regarding the other previous 2 starting lineups. So it does seem either they were thinking about all these changes that are coming up regarding the international deadline, or just I don't know. I don't have no idea what Setien was thinking of doing all those changes, and seeing as though Lainez hadn't really been on the field with the majority of the players that were at that time. So, but despite that, I think he did a quite decent job. I just don't think that it's up to the point that we can actually start asking him to do all the things on the field. I mean, it's still being patient with him, which I think everyone should do.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's massively positive. What's going on with Lainez, I didn't expect. I don't think we said on the show, none of us expected him to start games anytime soon. And we were no, we gotta be patient with this kid. And then all of a sudden, someone like Setien, somebody who thinks about the game in the way that Setien does, has decided that Diego Lainez, after exactly 2 weeks after signing, is worthy of a start in one of the most hostile atmospheres in La Liga. I mean, going up there to Athletic Bilbao is not easy, and so I think it's a massive statement from Setien that he's liked what he's seen from Lainez. I think he said after the game he's an intelligent footballer, and that bodes really well moving forward, because Setien needs players that kind of fit into his system, his way of thinking. So for me, aside from what we saw on the pitch, I think it's just that decision that Setien has made to play Lainez like that is absolutely huge. And I thought Lainez did himself justice. I mean, obviously he is slight, his build, but I mean, I thought he did. I thought he did quite well. I thought there were times where he didn't know, in terms of his movement, he struggled. Not in terms of in terms of fitting into what Betis are looking at, when to go behind the defence, when to drop back. I thought he got with it a bit more in the second half, but it's difficult because these players have been together, a minimum 9 months, learning, the movements, the training patterns, the how Setien wants to play. And I thought Lainez still hasn't got with that yet. But, I mean, that's natural. So, massively excited about it. I didn't think he was as great as some people were just going crazy, like saying he was amazing and blah, blah, blah. For me, I saw nothing new with Lainez's performance there. I mean, he takes players on. He's bold. He's not scared. He's got a lot of courage. He might be small. He might be frail, but he's not frightened to take players on. He's not frightened to get stuck in. And it doesn't surprise me that he goes to Athletic Bilbao and that's what he does. I mean, we've seen him enough in Liga MX with the national team. We know what he's like. So yeah, I thought he played quite well, and he's in the right place. I mean, like we said right when he signed, he's in the right place to develop, and especially when he's getting minutes, that kind of development's going to be sped up more than I think we thought originally that it would be.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying that you don't understand why people are getting overly excited. I mean, the last game that he played, I didn't get overly excited, but I saw some of the things that he was doing, and I was like, oh, okay, there he goes. And then when I saw it this game, I also thought the same thing, like, oh, that's just what he does. But I mean, even for La Liga, like they totally used up that marketing opportunity and just started putting those clips of what he was doing on Twitter. So I think those that don't know him are going to be completely surprised by the things that he's capable of. But I think, like you're saying, Tom, for those who have been following him for a while, they're going to be able to, just get excited. Like Adriana keeps telling us, very justified excitement. But I think, he's in the right path too.
I'll tell you what, I mean, I think I said it before, but someone like Lainez, I mean, there's this thing, and it's not just in Mexico, but all over, when people get excited about a young player and they say, oh, you're building them up, they're going to fail. It's like, well, there's always the percentage chance that, a young player is going to fail. It's just, it's the law of percentages. Some players look really, really good at 17, but I tell you what, with what we've seen from Lainez so far, both on and off the pitch, if you can't get excited about Lainez as a Mexico fan, then I don't know when you're going to get excited. You know what I mean? I mean, he's a genuinely exciting player, not just because of his talent ceiling, but because of this type of player he is. He gets the ball and you're on the edge of the seat. You want to see what he does. He can, he can run past players. He goes both ways. He scores goals. He makes assists. I mean, if you can't get excited about Lainez, then I don't know. You need to check your pulse.
No, I agree. I want to be very reserved. Somebody was very nice and sent me a very nice comment when I said, like, should we still keep it calm? Because he was part of that pass that led to the goal and all that stuff. But I agree in a sense. If we can't get excited or be optimistic to some extent about the future, then what are we waiting for? Like, what's the criteria for us to finally be like, this is how we're going to get excited for the youth players, really? So.
Yeah, I think we have to be like borderline realistic and optimistic. I mean, we obviously all hope that he does well, that he gets more starting lineups, that he scores goals. But I just don't. Yeah, like it was just crazy on Sunday morning, and people were up. I mean, that was just crazy. I thought everyone would be like asleep, or I don't know, would catch the repetition sometime or something. But I just don't want people to expect something that, I mean, as Tom said, he just arrived 2 weeks ago. I think we have to be realistic for what he can do. We know what he can do. We just want him to show it and start growing. But you can't expect him to do it and just like carry the entire team and be like, oh, it's okay, don't worry, we were losing, I'll score a goal in a minute or so. So yeah, just keep it that way, because I know how all Mexican fans, like when we see another Mexican player go abroad, we just think that he's going to solve the club's entire problems in like a week or so. So just, I don't know, like keep ourselves like level-headed and just think that, yeah, he'll get there. We just need to be a little bit patient. And if he doesn't do what we expect him to do, he'll do it eventually.
Yeah, and he'll have bad moments, no doubt about it. He'll have really bad games, and it's not doesn't mean he's a bad player. It's just it's a process, and he's 18 years old. Let's see where he's at in 4 years. In that season before Qatar, he's going to be 21, possibly 22 by then. I mean, it is exciting to think that in 3-4 years what he's going to look like heading to the next World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree. I think going off of what you said, Adriana, though, about how people get excited like too much when somebody gets sent to Europe. I think the only thing that works out for Diego Lainez is the fact that he has Guardado there. So it's kind of like it kind of dilutes all the excitement. Not too much, but it's kind of like we already have a Mexican on that team. So we don't have to get too excited because we know that he's younger than the one we have there and he's going to be guided by that player. So I think it kind of dilutes it like a tiny bit.
I'm trying to think
Anything
who
else?
Betis faces this week, but I know it's on Sunday. I'm just trying to remember against who. But yeah, let's see how that turns out. I hope he gets more minutes. I hope that we see a little bit more confidence from his teammates as well regarding passes and just seeing him move better on the field so that they know that he's in a better position to just move forward.
Definitely. All right. Anything else anybody wants to say about Diego Lainez? How excited are we on a scale of 1 to 10?
9.
Yeah.
Tom's going with a 9.
I'll go with 8-ish just because I'm a little more reserved and people. Everyone was like 20 and like the day they signed him, and I was like, wait, what? He's playing against Real Madrid? What are you guys saying? Yeah,
I'll go with like an 8.2. I'll be slightly higher than Adriana, but significantly lower than Tom. All right, moving on. Chucky Lozano gets 2 goals for PSV. So while we're talking about overhyping excitement, I think we can see current situations working out for themselves in Chucky Lozano getting the 2 goals against PSV. But Eric Gutierrez was not part of that lineup, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think Van Bommel was talking ahead of the game, and he said basically that the what's he called, the PSV kind of attacking midfielder is basically ahead of him right now. Pereiro's, Uruguayan, the same age, similar age to Gutierrez. I mean, I don't know. It seems like Van Bommel doesn't trust Gutierrez. Is kind of further back in the midfield, in the central midfield. He wants him to play further forward, perhaps because he's not good enough defensively. That's something he's perhaps got to learn. But yeah, it's for me, it's a challenge for Gutierrez. I mean, I think Van Bommel coming out and publicly saying that, he's basically saying to Gutierrez, right, this is your competition now, because he's basically said Pereiro is better than you. I can get more from Pereiro than I can get from you. So I think that Gutierrez, he's not always been the most disciplined off the pitch, to be honest. If you speak to people in Pachuca, they say, they've had to, eating habits, stuff like that in Europe and at PSV they take very, very seriously. He's not always been great at that. So, yeah, for me, a big challenge coming up for Gutierrez, and for Lozano, that head injury as well looked pretty nasty, but thankfully he's back at home now. But yeah, I mean, Lozano now, I don't know, it's like, with Lainez, we want to see, how he develops within La Liga, because we don't know, it's going to be interesting to see. Whereas with Lozano now and PSV, I mean, it's just completely obvious that this is one of the top players in the leagues, and basically, I'm just waiting to see where he ends up next, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's kind of curious how they're both like really, they have different situations totally, Gutierrez and Lozano. We know that we want the challenge for Gutierrez in PSV. That's why we want Chucky to go to next. We want that challenge for him because we know that somehow the league, he's got it under control. I mean, he's excelled in probably every single game he's been in. He's scoring lots of goals. He's always starting up for PSV. So we want to see that the same challenge that Gutierrez is facing now, trying to make it to the starting lineup for PSV. We want to see Chucky do that in another league. So I think that's the only thing that I think I would like to see him make that change sooner rather than later, because I think that he's still at a point where he can actually learn from other leagues, other styles, other teams. And Gutierrez actually has to do that himself right now to win a position in PSV, which he hasn't done at this point. So it's kind of funny to see how Lainez, we also want to see him grow, and I think Chucky has done at PSV what we thought he could. And I'm not sure he can get much more out of it. So I really hope that he makes that change to another league. If not this transfer deadline, which doesn't seem possible, maybe in the summer.
I just want him to go to Arsenal. I want my life to be positive and really happy. And if he can be at Arsenal, it would make it like 5 times greater than it already is. All right. Anything else that anybody wants to say about Chucky? Or I will say, I will say something for Eric Gutierrez. I think he's had moments when he's been subbed on or he gets the opportunities that you can tell he can make a difference for the team. But for the coach to come out and say something like that, obviously, like Tom is saying, it means that he either it needs to step it up in some way, or he just basically, has to fight for his spot, because I think he's had good moments. I just also think, for the coach to say that is huge.
I mean,
because
he's good enough to succeed in PSV, but this is the benefit of going to somewhere like going to Europe basically, or another league. You get these situations. Tecatito's had it before when he was with 20. Remember, he got kicked out of the squad for a while. And basically, this is a situation that would never have happened at Pachuca. Gutierrez could have done what the hell he likes, at Pachuca, and he was always going to be the starter. You know what I mean? And for him to go to Holland, and then all of a sudden you got a bit of competition, and all of a sudden the coach is saying this guy is better than you right now. That's what makes you grow. You have to react, and we'll see in the coming weeks now if Gutierrez reacts to it.
Yeah, I like the coach is like hitting him in his pride. He's like, I know, it's like the really direct way of saying you have to just kick it up a notch and just do a lot better. But I like that because it means that he really is expecting him to do something, to react and just fight for that position. So I kind of like that. I don't see many Liga MX coaches doing that. They're way too kind sometimes for some of the players, and they're like, oh no, it's a competition, it'll make everybody better. And here comes Van Bommel, and he's like, no, this dude is not winning that competition, and he has to work even harder if he wants to play.
Yeah, I mean, so the only thing we can really say right now is we'll see if he lives up to, the challenge that basically the coach has put on him. Next up, we have Wolves versus West Ham coming up tomorrow. Raul Jimenez versus Chicharito. Kind of a tale of two stories, or tale of two players. Basically, you have Raul Jimenez, who's basically solidified his spot against Wolves, and you have Chicharito with West Ham, who, according to rumors recently, might not even be with the team soon.
Yeah, I mean, the Valencia rumor, I think, is real. It's strong. Let's see if they actually pull out the money to get him. I think that's one of the. There's quite a few issues with the transfer window, winding down. Marco Fabian apparently, not Fabian, I mean Layun, apparently has interest in Italy, Spain, and Mexico. So we'll have to see if Layun goes anywhere, and Chicharito as well. I mean, I think a move to Valencia would be really good for him. It's just not happened at West Ham. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He's not been terrible when he's played, and he's just all the injuries and stuff. It's just not happened. So it'd be good to see him kind of move on. I think Valencia would be a really good fit. And Diego Reyes as well, who's already made the move from Fenerbahce to Leganés.
I would actually like for more Mexican players to be in the Spanish league. That would be kind of fun, seeing as though, Chicharito doesn't seem to be, it just wasn't a good fit in West Ham. I mean, it could have been. We did see lots of good games with him, but the injuries were just terrible. He was away of 2 to 3 months, I think. It would be nice to see him just anywhere where he can play. I mean, Diego Reyes' transfer to Fenerbahce was just, I thought it was going to kill his career at one point because he wasn't even playing then. So if he comes to Leganés, despite the fact that I think he's going to play to avoid relegation, as long as he plays, it just seems like a better idea than Fenerbahce. For whatever reason, Fenerbahce thought that he would be a good fit for them. Raul Jimenez has just been amazing. I so hope, if there's one thing I want to happen in the summer, it's that I want Wolves to buy him. I want him to be there permanently. He just seems to be totally understanding of what the coach is expecting from him. He's given so many assists. He's been scoring goals. He seems like a totally different player than he was in Benfica. Just seeing him with his teammates and just seeing the way that he's been playing. So I just really, if there's one thing that I hope for this summer, I can wait on Chucky going to another league. We can wait another 6 months for that. It would be that Raul Jimenez gets bought by Wolves.
Yeah, I think just going to Diego Reyes again. I mean, I was looking. I think he's made 10 league starts since the start of 2018, and talk about a player that was hyped, you know, that went over to Europe, there was hype, you know, Porto, it seemed like he was just a natural fit to play well in that league. And I don't know, I mean, I know I said a similar thing with Raul Jimenez when he wasn't playing at Benfica, but, you know, the serious question marks for me now about Diego Reyes. I think, you know, Adriana saying going to Spain where he's done well before, I think is a great move for him. But he's a bit desperate now, Reyes, to make this. This has to, for me, this has to work. I mean, you go to Fenerbahce in the Turkish league, and yeah, they've got some good players, but to be on the bench is far from ideal. I mean, it's not a top league, you know. And now coming back to Spain with Lainez, and you know, it's just imperative that he starts games now, because at 26 years old, you know, you've not done it in Turkey. You know, you come back to Spain, and if you don't do it there, then I don't know where you go. You know what I mean? I don't know. After that, you come back to Mexico, or you go to MLS, but you're certainly not stepping up.
Just because we talked about Salcedo last week, what do you prefer? Him going to Spain, or him coming back to Liga MX? What would have been? Are you still excited about him being here? Or would you have preferred him going to Liga MX?
No, I mean, I think I want to see if he can. You know, the challenge is on now for him. You know what I mean? He's in a league that he already knows, and I'd prefer him to take this challenge, because if he came back to Mexico, then, you know, I think he's good enough to play in the Liga MX. And I don't know, I'm still intrigued to know what Diego Reyes' level is, because sometimes you see him and you think this is a really good player, and then other times you're thinking, what's happened to him? You know what I mean? Because this was a guy who was mentioned as kind of the next Rafa Marquez and stuff, and he's just fallen a long way short. I mean, I know that was unrealistic, but he has fallen short of what I think most people would have predicted for his career. So, but like with Raul Jimenez, this Reyes is only 26. He can establish himself in Spain again. You never know. In 2-3 years' time, he could, you know, make that step up again.
I do think it does feel like, I don't know if it's his last opportunity to make it in Europe, but it does feel like it, because after the Fenerbahce move, it was just it as Tom said, it just seemed desperate. It seemed like it was your last choice, despite there were other rumors saying that he could go to other teams. But I can't think of an opportunity that you would let go an opportunity to play in any other league and just somehow think that the Turkish league was better. Just the cultural shock, the language, the league. If he did have other choices, I have no idea why he could choose Turkey over them. So yeah, it does feel like it could be his last shot at European soccer, because I haven't seen the level that we expected for him in years.
I mean, he did also spend like half of his summer in Mexico, so yeah.
Yeah.
He probably just heard Turkey and was like, yeah, sure, why not? We'll go.
What's the weather like over there?
I'll go meet Selfie.
We're talking about Diego Reyes possibly moving to Liga MX, but we're also, you mentioned a little bit, Tom, Miguel Ayun is also getting some talks about different clubs that he could be heading to, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going completely well at Villarreal. They're obviously, I don't know, they weren't expected to be fighting relegation, but all of a sudden they are. So I don't know, we'll see. I think I don't think he'll be desperate to leave, but, you know, if a good opportunity comes up, I'm sure he'll be moving on. But, you know, it depends on his family as well. But with Ayun, it's like, if he comes back to Mexico, if he goes to MLS or anything like that, I mean, I just think he's done what he's needed to do in Europe. You know, I think Ayun's ceiling is what he's achieved. You know, I don't think he's kind of underachieved. You know, and I think you got to respect that. Whereas a player like Reyes, you've always got that doubt within you. And the same with Salcedo. It's like, could they go to a higher level? You know what I mean? Whereas with Ayun, I don't know. I don't get that.
The only reason I think it just seems it's Monterrey being Monterrey. We were talking about this. Is it possible that Monterrey is actually interested in getting Miguel Ayun because Tigres hired Carlos Salcedo? Is it like backlash? Like, oh my God, you got a national team player from Europe. Oh, I'm going to get one. Because I mean, Monterrey doesn't really need him. I mean, you have Jesus Gallardo, you have Angioni. It just doesn't seem like you need Miguel Ayun. You have Medina, yeah. So I was like, really, Monterrey? Why? I mean,
but that was kind of the argument with Salcedo too, right? Like, they don't really need him, so why would they get him?
Yeah, unless it's like family reasons or something. But other than that, it's like I don't know why you would prefer that.
I know he was tempted last time by Monterrey because I think they
Mhm.
came in the summer of 2017, if I'm not mistaken, and he was interested, and he was very kind of, he said he thanked Monterrey for the interest and the offer and stuff, but he said he wanted to stay in Europe. Whereas I don't know, he won't surprise me one bit if he does move to Monterrey. Just seems with Tigres and Monterrey right now that money is an issue. They're not kind of running the teams on a kind of, okay, let's budget for this, let's budget for that. They're just like, all right, who's available? Okay, I want him, let's buy him, and that's it. It's as simple as that. It doesn't seem to be a big issue.
The people in the chat would like to know what is happening with Guli Peña. Does anybody?
Gullit Peña, I mean, he's another one that needs to sort something out because, he's still contracted to Rangers for the next year and a half. I believe he's still in Leon at the moment, and basically he's obviously been fighting his alcohol problem. And I imagine his agent's trying to find him a club. I know there was some interest in Poland, out of all places. I think Turkey as well actually was mentioned. And so yeah, I mean, it's just difficult to, with everything that's come out with Peña and the alcoholism, and he was ditched from Necaxa. I think 3-4 weeks before the season ended. It's kind of, it's difficult. I mean, how do you, if you're his agent, how do you get rid of that player? How do you convince a club that this is a guy who hasn't really done anything since 2014? To be honest,
Leon,
is the right player for your club? I mean, it's a hard sell.
Yeah, I think it's also interesting how we just have this really weird variety roller coaster thing going on with different Mexicans abroad. We're either super excited or we're kind of just like, I don't know what's going on over here. But all right, anything else to add for Mexicans abroad before we move on, my peeps?
No, I think bit of Liga MX.
Quick
Yeah,
segue.
we'll go with Liga MX.
As a quick segue to that, we have a comment from the chat. Chicken Biscuit says they hope America can land the possum on loan with our current situation. It would be great. So
I just had
a bit of trouble, America.
I just had the image. You know how America during the halftime they have their eagle like fly around the Estadio Azteca. What if they had like the possum like run around the field at the Estadio Azteca?
What about a flying possum?
Yeah. The eagle grabbing the possum and just taking it around. By the way, that eagle's name is Celeste, which I thought was kind of curious, seeing as those Celestes are Cruz Azul. But yeah, that's the eagle's name. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I mean, America in a bit of trouble here.
Yeah.
Mateus Uribe out injured. Uribe Peralta out injured. Menez out injured. Cecilio Dominguez is gone. Diego Lainez is gone. That Insurralde is gone.
Emmanuel Aguilera is suspended. Jorge Sanchez is suspended. Oh, and by the way, their club president just left the club.
I mean, they're in a bit of trouble there. It looks like the Caco Romero. I don't know. I mean, it looks like they're just going to have to pay. I mean, I just thought that it was a ridiculous saga because the guy's contracted to Red Bull, so Red Bulls can basically name the price. What's a bit surprising is that America just haven't crossed him off the list and moved on to the next one on the list. But yeah, I mean, they've got, I don't know, all of a sudden from going to a 23-game unbeaten run, they're now kind of riddled with injuries. They're looking very short up front. And I don't know, they need something to happen in the next couple of days. They need a couple of players. If they can get a Nico Castillo, or I don't know. But I mean, time's really running out now because if you're signing players from Europe, and because of the time difference, it becomes extremely difficult. So yeah, it's weird to see how it's turned around. But I don't know, that game losing 3-2 to Monterrey. I mean, I don't know. I just thought it was a terrible refereeing performance. And I don't usually talk about the referees or even like mentioning because it's a lot of the time I just think, what's the point? But this one, it was like, I was so angry when Hurtado got sent off. It's just because I was looking forward to the game so much. I was like, this was a proper game, like a potential final. And then, that, with Hurtado sending off, it was like, if you look by the exact rules, then you could probably make a reason and say, oh yeah, okay, I can see why you sent him off. But I mean, the use of VAR, I mean, nobody was asking for. Marchesín was rubbing his leg a bit, but nobody was saying the guy stamped on me. This was, I mean, he's gone for the ball. And if you're a Monterrey fan, you Hurtado has to go for the ball. He can't back out of that with the, he actually touched the ball. I mean, you're bearing down on goal. You can't pull out of that challenge. It's not a dirty challenge. It's a completely legitimate effort to go to the ball. Give him a yellow card if there's an issue and get on with the game, 11 v 11. And I thought then, to go and look at the VAR and then decide, I mean, when nobody was asking for the VAR, I mean, the VAR's supposed to be for, borderline decisions that you don't really know. I mean, I don't know. And then after that, I just thought the game completely got out of hand and the referee didn't know. I don't know. I mean, he gave that penalty to Monterrey and really, again, another terrible decision. But he didn't use VAR for that one, And it's like, what are you doing? I mean, it's like he's never seen VAR before or knows what it is or he's not been told anything about it. And he's just decided, right, well, I'm just going to go and have a look whenever I feel like it.
I thought this is Liga MX being Liga MX in its pure state, because this comes after a week where the person in charge of refereeing here in Liga MX had to come up. He got so many calls from all the press trying to ask him for a statement regarding all the decisions, the no goal in the Chivas Toluca game, stuff like that. So he actually had to set up a press conference to make everyone clear on why it's used and what's wrong with VAR and why all these mistakes. And then this comes up, and I was like, oh my God, he's gonna have 2 press conferences next week. One only to talk about the Monterrey America match, and then another entire press conference to talk about all the other mistakes during the weekend. It was just like a snowball effect. I mean, we all saw it. He just started making up for all the mistakes that he had done already, and he just ended up screwing up the entire game. I mean, It was entertaining at one point, but yeah, we were all expecting it to be the toughest match for America. We were all kind of concerned regarding if they could keep the unbeaten streak. Monterrey seemed like a decent rival, and I mean, everything seemed like it was going to be a really good match. It was just entertaining. It wasn't necessarily good, but it was a mess. I mean, I looked at it, and like Tom said, the referee just used VAR when he had apparently no other choice, and that comes up with what Arturo Bricio was saying during the week. He said the referees kind of think it hurts them when they use VAR. They think we deduct points out of their performance when they use VAR, and that's not what they should think of it. It's a tool to actually help them make all those borderline decisions. And it was a mess. I mean, it started raining. You had 4 players sent off by both teams. With both teams, you had 2 penalty kicks. I think America might have gotten another penalty kick at the end of the game. It was crazy. It was probably the craziest game ever. And then you had the Cruz Azul going on at the same time with Eustaquio. I mean, it was just, I was looking at both screens and I was just laughing at one point. I was just hysterical laughing. I was like, this can't be going on. And I actually think we counted, it was 10 mistakes from referees on both games going on at the same time. So I was just glad that those games weren't at 9 p.m. because otherwise we would have ended up covering those games at 1 a.m. or something. But it was just crazy.
I think Edson Alvarez encapsulated the America Monterrey game the best. I forgot at what point he does it, but the ref makes yet another call that's kind of questionable, and Edson just starts laughing and clapping. And I mean it. He encapsulates it because I think at that point everybody was just completely frustrated with the decisions that he was making. The fact that you have a game that's 9v9 essentially is just over questionable calls, like we're all saying, over red cards that you're kind of wondering why there are even red cards to begin with, and then I thought he got card friendly at one point. He just started giving yellow cards to whoever he felt was arguing with him. And, he just was like, whatever, I'm just going to give cards. I'm just going to give whoever out of cards. Control. Oh, but it looks like the team, both teams are complaining about the cards, right?
America complained about one.
Yeah, both.
It didn't go through, and they only took away Nico Sanchez's red card. That was the only one.
Yeah. No, it was disappointing, to be honest. It was disappointing because it's one of those games that you thought, this is a top game. This is an advert for the league, and it's just disappointing to see it. I don't know, just go so downhill. It was it was worse because of VAR You know what I mean? And it's like, I mean, but I think it was completely different than the week before because we had the controversy with the Toluca goal. And I mean, from what I've never seen an angle of the ball actually 100% crossing the line. So I can completely understand the decision by VAR. It might have looked like it crossed the line, but there was nothing definitive, so you can't give it. I mean, to me, it was very obvious. But with this one, it was just the decision making was, I don't know, just so poor. And yeah, like I said, it kind of spoiled the game really. But yeah, no. I mean, fell top of the league, unbeaten, and I think you saw from Diego Alonso's reaction at the end, he was so happy. I mean, that he's never looked for me 100% comfortable in the job, and I think really, that home win against, and obviously the stadium, Monterrey Stadium. I don't know, there's been a kind of voodoo, or it's not always gone so well. And I think those wins like that on Saturday against someone like America, I don't know, it just kind of boosts his position and I think gives him confidence, because it's Monterrey. You look through the team and you're just like, I don't know, it's ridiculous. The position I think they're really suffering is goalkeeper, because I'm not a big fan of Baravero, and I thought, he made a mistake for Edson Alvarez's goal. But yeah, good win for Monterrey, and we'll see what America can do in the next few days, because I think these next few days could define the season.
Yeah, I also think for Monterrey to win that way from what was probably one of the best goals of this weekend from Funes Mori obviously adds to their confidence. But yeah, we'll see what America ends up doing. They have obviously a lot of things that they have to look over, evaluate, and then see how they can move on from it. Chivas gets their first loss of the season against Santos. Would you?
Yeah.
Is it just?
I mean, I thought Santos obviously did well, but there wasn't much in it for this game, to be honest. I just thought it was a pretty even game. Obviously, Gaito Vasquez against his old club scores from long range, and that ended up being the difference. Bit of a surprise that Cardoso started with a back five. I mean, I understand it because Santos played with two strikers, Correa and Furt. So obviously, if you play with three centre backs, you get numeric superiority there at the back, but still, it didn't. I thought it kind of blunted Chivas at the other end of the pitch, if you know what I mean. And I think Chavarria said it at the end of the game. It surprised him because he thought a team coming from top of the league unbeaten would go there and be a bit more attacking. Not like they were completely defensive, but be a bit more attacking. So, but yeah, I mean, I think Chivas aren't the best team in the league. I think they're going to be in the playoffs, but I think it's unrealistic to think that Chivas are going to remain in the top 2-3 places.
Yeah, and I think they should kind of worry about a bit about that striker position. I mean, I saw Alan Pulido struggle. I saw lots of plays just being drowned out by the defense because they had no idea how to give that last pass or that assist. So I think that might be something that Cardoso might have to worry about this week, because I really didn't see them. No, they didn't have any clarity at the moment when they had the ball, and they were like just outside the scoring area. So yeah, I think it was kind of odd for them to struggle so much, seeing as though they had done so well the beginning of the season. And yeah, it just seemed like they had no idea how to score a goal. I mean, I know Gallito's goal was really fortunate. It was a really fortunate goal. It was a really great hit, but yeah, somehow I think they struggled way too much to actually make it through and try to put Jonathan Orozco in a bit of just complicate the plays a bit more.
Chivas losing is not worrisome for you, Adriana. It was just a loss. You still think that they're gonna maintain whatever confidence they had working out for the last couple games?
No, I don't think it's worrisome. It does show that they still have to work on some things. I mean, mostly the attack. That's the only thing. I've seen the midfield with Jesus Molina. I think he's done really well. Beltran has been doing really well with him in that midfield. And Diran Mier has been really solid at defense. So I'm only worried about the attacking position. I think Alexis Vega hasn't been that that help that they need attacking. Alan Pulido doesn't seem as constant either. Isaac Brizuela is probably the best player, but still he can't do everything alone. So I do think that they kind of need to improve a bit more in that position.
Cool. And now for one of the highlighted moments of the weekend, Cruz Azul against Xolos 1-0. We heard about Caixinha's comments, but I mean, Oscar Pereira was sent off, and then you had a really great performance from Chuy Corona. This is Cruz Azul's second win. Thoughts on the match from you guys?
I'd be worried.
I mean, Cruz Azul, they've got the win. It was an ugly win, but it's two wins now out of the 4 games. I don't know. They're on course. Are they playing the best football? No, but I think they're going to be there or thereabouts at the end of the season. I'm worried about Tijuana, to be honest, because there's no way they should have beaten Leon in week 3. I mean, that was a freak result, judged off the game. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there was 14 shots from Leon inside the penalty area. I mean, they completely dominated them, and Tijuana that was the only goal they've scored all season. Those are the only points they've got all season, and so while Querétaro are obviously the other team on 0 points, Tijuana really could easily as well be on 0 points. So I think it's Pareja obviously is new to the league. He's not had it easy. Obviously, Gustavo Bo's back, which is a plus. But I don't know. This the Tijuana directors don't tend to have too much patience, and if it keeps going like it is, then you wonder how long they're gonna remain with back in Pareja.
Yeah, I think it's kind of disappointing to see a team like Xolos that we were kind of used to seeing being really aggressive, especially at home. And now it just seems like they're so out of sync. I mean, Gustavo Bo I'm really glad that he's back for a second run with Xolos. He did really well against Cruz Azul, despite the team not really generating much. I mean, as Tom said, it was an ugly win for Cruz Azul. I mean, they could have tied so easily, just 0-0. They didn't really have it propose something in the game. I mean, they were kind of really orderly. But other than that, it wasn't a really attractive game. I mean, Jesus Corona had a decent performance. I think it was his 38th birthday, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was looking at Cruz Azul, and I was like, I know Caixinha got really mad at a reporter asking about how what he asked for players for that game, and he just really doesn't like people judging him on those decisions. But yeah, you can't imagine Cruz Azul being the finalists for last season. I mean, they just seem so different. It doesn't seem like a Cruz Azul that kind of gets people excited. It was the worst attendance at the Estadio Azteca since Cruz Azul was back at the Azteca. I think it was like 10,000 people.
10,000.
So it's a sad situation for the team right now. And then they lose Eustaquio, who came in as a solution after Ivan Marcone left. So you lose him, you lose Adrian Aldrete for a couple of weeks at least, and then you lose Jordan Silva, who I know wasn't being considered, but still another loss for the team. So it does seem like the Xolos situation is bad, but I think the Cruz Azul situation is getting kind of worse.
Do you think Caixinha making those comments is influenced by the weird situation that they have right now, or I mean, what was going on when he said that?
Yeah, I think I mean, we know this is Caixinha. I mean, we've seen it before. We saw it in Santos. It might have been just like a matter of time for him to just have this situation. I mean, he was really upset that reporters were questioning how he played after he actually won, and it was his 3rd win in a week. But I think Cruz Azul is one of those teams where you can actually ask them to play well and win, especially after they were the finalists last season. But still, I think he was way out of line. I do think sometimes reporters go, they try to make themselves like if they were the coaches and try to analyze all these tactical things that might not be entirely their position. So I think coaches have the right to say, hey, I'm the coach for a reason. You can ask me other things as well. But yeah, I just think that Caixinha's the way he responded, not only what he responded, but the way he responded was just out of line, and it doesn't help the team at all.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we all see it. We've all been in those situations, right? There's questions that you might not ask yourself, but there's going to be somebody else that wants to ask them, or there's going to be an inflection or a way in which you ask these questions that might get you a response or a reaction that you're not expecting. But I agree. I agree where, yeah, it should have been said that way, but I can also somewhat understand when you get this kind of reaction from a specific person, it's like you're saying they're influenced, or they're in a situation where they kind of just blow up uncalled for, or maybe they didn't really expect themselves to do that too. But I mean, it's also that weird relationship, right, that the media and those that we report on have. So
yeah, like I just think I don't know if you noticed this, Tom, but yeah, like so many reporters right now, they like to get into that position where they analyze like all the tactics and where the players are starting, stuff like that, and the coaches really don't like that. They get like kind of angry, and they're like, no, you're the reporter, I'm the coach. Ask me a question and that's it. Don't tell me if I was wrong in putting this player in this position, or if I changed from I don't know, like line of 5 or to 4 or something like that. So I think it's kind of it pisses coaches off.
yeah, it reminds me of the LAFC playoff match that they had against Real Salt Lake last season, where after the game, obviously they lost. Bob Bradley wasn't happy, and somebody asked him, like, so why did you put this player instead of this player? And he got so mad so fast. So yeah, I agree. Coaches do not like to be asked why they do the things that they do.
Yeah. Especially Judge. You might be able to ask some of them, but I can't imagine someone asking Tuca, like, what were you thinking of, like, putting this player in this position?
Yeah, no.
Don't know.
Not Tuca.
I mean, we're talking about Xolos' coach and, how they're not patient. Pumas lost against Pachuca 1-0. And then in terms of the very long patience that, teams have, said goodbye to Patino and have brought in Marioni. What are we thinking about this?
That was
Pumas
sarcasm, right, by the way?
Hi.
It's Almeida 2.0 with Palermo, by the way.
Yeah. To be honest, though, I don't think there's much in the game. I don't think
No.
Pachuca were like kind of amazing. To be honest, I didn't see. If that was Ayestaran managing that game, that game wouldn't have surprised me one bit if Pachuca won 1-0 like that. With Patino, I mean, it's not been working for him. They've not won in 4 games since they got smashed by Club America. Marioni, he's got no experience in Liga MX. His experience with Venados in the 2nd division, he's not done very well, and it's a decision for me from obviously one of the. This is a club that doesn't have much ambition, and is hiring somebody because basically the wages are cheaper. I mean, Leandro Augusto, before, he said, we're not, one of the reasons we're not bringing in players is because we can't compete with certain teams. And I mean, a club like with the history, with the size of the fan base, to say that they can't compete is, I think, this decision as well is also, it kind of shows it's another coach coming in with very little experience, and just so many unknowns, and he's going to be working with a squad that for me isn't up there within the top half of this league, to be honest.
I think that actually the position that Pumas has put itself in, because I do think that the fact that they just come forward and say, we're not getting any new players, we don't have money, we're going to trust our young players, it seems slightly mediocre. I mean, I can't think of a big team, one of the most popular teams like Pumas, just coming forward and saying, we know we might not be able to fight for the title, we're just going to try to make it through with these players and try to get some other new players in. I mean, it just seems, it's so sad to see a team do that. I mean, we saw it with Chivas sometimes. They struggled so much, but because so many players were so expensive for them, and it's a limited pool of Mexican players they can get. But for Pumas, I mean, it does seem like an obvious solution to bring in Bruno Marioni. He was a cheaper coach. He knows the team. He knows Leandro Augusto. They won the 2004 Clausura Championship title together with Hugo Sanchez, and then Bruno Marioni left. So it seemed like an obvious move. But despite that, I don't like the fact that Pumas has kind of like limited itself. It doesn't come forward and say, yeah, we have to fight for the title and we have to show these players what this team means and what it represents. It just seems like they're like, oh, yeah, we know we're not going to do too well. And that's okay, and we're just going to make it through with whatever we have. It doesn't seem something that could dignify the team at all.
Liga Mix gonna Liga Mix. in great fashion. Okay, guys, we're ending the show a little bit early because luckily for me, my son has not woken up yet, but you never know. If you just go ahead and delay things just 1 minute or two, things could all fall apart. Thank you so much for everybody on the chat. Thank you to Tom and Adriana for letting me host the show today. Oh, and before I forget, Tigres versus Rayados in Liga MX Femenil ended 1-1. For anybody wondering, Katie Abad scored for the Tigres and Mariana Cadena scored for Monterrey. So it ended in a 1-1. I thought Tigres.
If anyone saw it in the States, please let us know how you saw it and just what you think of it. That would be really great. Really
they were showing it on Univision. So let us know. Send us on tweet at us at Mexican Soccer Show. But before I leave everybody, how did I do? Did I do great? Did I do terrible?
Two very enthusiastic thumbs up.
Should I replace Wiso? Go ahead and tweet that out.
We'll have a vote. We'll have to have a vote on Twitter. Each week we can have a vote off. You should host this week.
No, but guys, thank you so much. I had a lot of fun. Like I said at the beginning of the show, it's very surreal because I still sometimes when I can't go to sleep at night, watch the very first time you guys introduced me on the show and how nervous and everything. And now I tell you guys what to do and what to talk about. And it's a very different role that I'm in now after all these years, but it's a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun. Thank you so much again, everybody on the chat. Thank you to Tom. Thank you to Adriana. And be sure to watch out for another episode next week of the Mexican Soccer Show. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.